Early morning in Chicago. The offices are empty, the city at rest. It's hard to imagine, but these office buildings employ more people than live in many American cities. Chicago is often called the city that works, but first people have to get to work. The city is famous for its automobiles and elevated trains, but that's not enough. For over 120 years, people have boarded a fleet of commuter trains to get from one end of Chicagoland to the other. Perhaps like no other place in the United States, people in Chicagoland think nothing about hopping on a train to get to where they want to go. Come along for the ride as we take our own journey inside this fascinating railroad and see some of what it takes to keep Chicago in motion. Chicago's commuter rail system is known as Metra, which is short for Metropolitan Rail. With over 700 trains providing well over 300,000 passenger trips each weekday, Metra is North America's second largest commuter system. A look at the map shows that Metra routes expand outward from downtown Chicago in all directions, a total of 12 routes in all, with 4 branch lines running through 6 counties in northeast Illinois. These routes all converge on 4 major downtown stations: Union Station on the southwestern corner of downtown, LaSalle Station in the heart of the financial district, Randolph Street Station in the northeast corner of downtown, and Ogilvie Transportation Center in the northwest corner of downtown. These have been railroad station locations for decades, although the station buildings themselves have changed greatly. Let's start our tour of the Metra system with one of the oldest components, the Metra Electric. The Metra Electric District, or the MED as it's sometimes called, runs downtown south along the lakefront to suburban University Park, along with 2 branches. The electric trains start and terminate underground in Randolph Street Station, which is beneath the Prudential Building.
Metra Electric comes in to Randolph Street, which is the terminal, right at the Chicago River. So the Electric is the only Metra route that gets right into the heart of downtown, right up to the river on the east side of Michigan Avenue. It comes in underground, comes into a dingy old terminal, which we are now finally able to start renovating, and it's going to be our most beautiful terminal in a couple of years.
While Randolph Station will soon be shiny and modern, the next station down the line is entirely different in character.
Next train board on track 2, we have 427 South Chicago. Here, 427 South Chicago train will board next on track 2.
On the south side of downtown is Van Buren Street Station, which is a major stop as well.
There's another downtown electric station called Van Buren, which is a marvelous example of architecture from the 1920s, fully preserved with beautiful benches and pillars and lights and walls. It's an architecture attraction in itself, besides being a train station. But it's not the terminal. But it's a very busy station because a lot of people get off at the south end of downtown. So, and again, there's another level of electric uniqueness. 2 stations downtown, one at each end of downtown. That's quite a claim to fame. This was once operated for many years, by the way, by the Illinois Central Railroad and then the Illinois Central Gulf. It was electrified in 1926, but the commuter service started on this route in the 1860s, and the Med actually claims to be the successor and the continuum, so to speak, of the oldest commuter service in the entire area, going back to the 1860s. With small steam engines pulling short trains up and down the lakefront. In 1926, the city decided they didn't like all the steam locomotives on the lakefront, ordered the railroad to be electrified. It has been electrified ever since. This is truly the unique part of Metra. No other segment of Metra claims this level of individuality. It's electric, it has its dedicated right-of-way on the main line, no grade crossings on the main line, no freight trains. It's truly unique. The electric runs the most trains every day of every route over a main line and 2 branches.
Another interesting aspect to the electric main line is that while it terminates on the north end in the heart of downtown Chicago, the southern terminal at University Park is literally next to cornfields. The Metra Electric District also has 2 branch lines that are different in character. While the line to University Park is mainline all the way, the South Chicago branch is at the other extreme, as it is a neighborhood railroad and winds its way through several South Side communities before the final stop in South Chicago. The Metra Electric is a Chicago institution and a vital link in the area's transportation network. There is another railroad using the Metra Electric line, and that is Indiana's South Shore Railroad. Running between Randolph Street and South Bend, it uses the Metra Electric trackage between downtown Chicago and 115th Street. Under a unique arrangement, Metra provides funding to the South Shore based on the percentage of South Shore ridership that comes from Illinois. So in some ways, the South Shore is a Metra route too. next stop on the Metra system is LaSalle Street Station and the Rock Island District. The original station was torn down in the 1980s and replaced by an office building. Today, this facility is entirely Metra commuter trains to Joliet. The Rock is similar to the Metra Electric in that it has a main line which runs to Joliet, as well as the Beverly branch, which is another neighborhood railroad. All trains on the Rock Island start or end at LaSalle Street Station, but between Gresham and Blue Island, many trains take the Beverly branch, which has a variety of boarding options.
Vermont Street, 127th, 123rd, 119th, 115th, 111th, 107th, 103rd, 99th, 95th, 91st, Brainerd, and Gresham.
Although the trains of the Beverly branch seem to go in slow motion, this is a heavily traveled line as it is still much faster than driving. Trains on the Beverly branch stop every 4 blocks, as do many electric district trains, making these two lines the routes with the most stops in the city, which is fitting for this heavily populated area. South of Blue Island, it is a mainline railroad all the way to Joliet. Joliet, Metra Rock Island District trains cross the route of the Metra Heritage trains, which we will discuss shortly. Joliet is a city of over 100,000 people, and all Metra trains stop at the beautifully restored Joliet Union Station, which Metra shares with Amtrak trains.
Rock Island, of course, goes back to the Chicago Rock Island Pacific. One of its claims to fame is that it was the first commuter system to be taken over by a public agency when the Rock Island Railroad went bankrupt in the 70s. And the agency that took over was the Regional Transportation Authority, which was the first big public agency. And later on, Metra assumed the Rock Island service when Metra was created as an operating arm of the RTA in 1984.
The Rock Island District carries well over 750,000 passengers a month in the 40 miles between LaSalle Street and Joliet, making it one of the important cogs in the region's transportation system. One of the places that passengers on the Rock Island District see on their way is the 47th Street Maintenance Facility, also known as the Rocket House for the fleet of Rock Island Railroad passenger trains called Rockets that used to be serviced here. This facility does heavy repairs on cars and locomotives. During our visit, the staff was busy overhauling coaches used on the BNSF lines to Aurora, which we will visit in a few minutes. It's mind-boggling how many details have to be kept track of in this process. Metra employee Bruce Frakes explained some of what an overhaul entails.
Basically what we're doing is doing a complete rehabilitation of the car, which consists of tearing out all the interior walls, the wainscot panels, the pier panels, and the freeze panels, and we replace all the wall panels. Lighting fixtures, we remove all the upper and lower level light fixtures, and we take them to the bench, replace the ballast, the wiring, any bad sockets, all new shades, completely rebuild them, and then once we get the walls back in, we put the lights back up. Floor heat, what we're doing is running all new conduit and wiring for the lower floor heat. This is the handrail here. What we do is have the handrail stripped by a contractor, and then we just repaint the handrail. The center section, which was used to be pigeonholes, we cut the entire center section of the car down, which is your main heat duct. So what we're going to do is, we've had new brackets fabricated, and we're going to install those brackets along with sheet metal panels. So we'll rebuild the entire ductwork. The upper level ceiling panels, basically what we do is take off all the upper level ceiling panels, and those will be replaced with new. The lavatory, the walls will be all new stainless steel, new toilet retention, new light fixture in the toilet ceiling, door operators. All 4 door operators will be replaced with a new style door operator, so that when the doors close, it'll be hoist enhanced. That requires installing a new relay panel here. We put a new relay panel to put the voice enhanced doors in. Side loading doors, we put new side loading doors in with new windows. This is your air conditioning temperature control panel. We remove the air conditioning temperature control panel. We install all new relays. These are your PLC boards. We replace all the PLC boards and rewire this whole panel. And then we upgrade the air conditioning system from R22 to 134A. You have a door track heater here, and basically when the temperature falls below freezing, your door track heater comes on to keep snow and ice off this bottom step. So what we do is we take off, there's a cover, we take off the cover, and this is a heat strip, and we disconnect this heat strip and put a new heat strip in. Things like this that you couldn't do in service, or you're going to tie the car up too long. If we do it now during rehab, we shouldn't have to worry about it for another 10 years. Okay, this is the trucks on the BN cars before they go out for rebuild. So basically you can see how the gaskets, the rubber gaskets start deteriorating, the shocks start leaking, you start getting loose bolts, bushings. They renew all those components, and they check to make sure the casting has no cracks or defects in the casting. And then once they do that, they start building the truck back with new components, new springs, new bolts, new gaskets, anything it needs.
Once the work is done, the coach will look shiny and new to the passenger. The next line on our tour is the one that currently has the lowest level of service, the Heritage Corridor, running the 37 miles from Union Station to Joliet. Currently, there are 3 commuter trains a day that use this particular route. This railroad was once the Gulf, Mobile, and Ohio. For years, the GM&O ran 1 commuter train each way a day over this route. Metra has tripled the service and has plans for further increases in the future. Joliet is the terminal for the Heritage Corridor service. People sometimes wonder why 2 lines serve Joliet. Of course, each line has different intermediate stops, but also this arrangement gives Joliet passengers the choice of which Chicago station suits them best, Union Station or LaSalle Street Station. One of the things that can be seen here at Joliet and many other Metra stations are these announcement boards, which can provide announcements to routes or even individual stations.
Metra commuters on the Rock Island line awaiting your next outbound train to Chicago. Train number 619. Be advised the train is currently running 56 minutes behind schedule due to earlier grade crossing incident. Apologize for any inconvenience we may have caused you, and we thank you for your patience.
These people at Metra headquarters in downtown Chicago keep passengers informed over the entire Metra system.
Attention, attention, Rock Island commuters at Hickory Creek. Train 508 due to depart Hickory Creek at 9:41. This train will be boarding from platform 2. I repeat, platform 2. Thank you.
From here, patrons are given both verbal and visual announcements relating to train status. This level of service has been made possible by a new global positioning satellite tracking system that pinpoints the location of each Metra train. Operators can quickly see where a train is, as well as ascertain on-time status. This is certainly an improvement over the old times when passengers just stood waiting at their stations, wondering when the train would show up. Metra's other South Side line is the Southwest service running the 30 miles from Union Station to Orland Park. This line was once owned by the old Wabash Railroad, and this commuter service is a direct descendant of a local passenger train that the Wabash once ran to Decatur. This line is now leased by Metra from Wabash successor Norfolk Southern. Metra has plans to increase service and extend operations 10 miles south to Manhattan to serve this rapidly growing area of Chicagoland. Our next stop on the Metra system is by far the busiest line, the Burlington Northern Santa Fe. Carrying nearly 1.2 million people per month, the Burlington route commuter trains are impressive to watch as they thunder one after another during the early morning rush hour. Running the 38 miles from Aurora to Chicago, the Metra BNSF line runs over 90 trains per day over this route. This is an extremely busy piece of railroad, as in addition to the commuter trains, freight traffic and Amtrak trains use this line as well. But the most impressive trains on the route are the fleet of Metra commuter trains that come in rapid succession.
Trains a day, 58,000 passengers, a truly classic and classy operation. 3-track mainline with critically located crossovers, allowing the BN to operate a truly magnificent service with rush hour trains just one after another. It's just amazing to see this during rush hour. The BN, of course, was originally the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy, and their commuter service, like the other ones, goes way back to before 1900.
The BNSF trains all terminate at Chicago Union Station. With some trains carrying upwards of 1,400 people, Union Station becomes a busy place as people stream out of their trains and head for their office buildings.
So we have crunch periods. Starting about 7, we're really building towards 7:30, and from 7:30 to 8:30, these stations are just amazing places to watch, to see the hordes, the thousands of people. On some of our rush hour trains, we bring in upwards of 1,400 people per train.
Part of the success story of the BNSF operation lies just south of Union Station at the 14th Street Maintenance Facility, also sometimes referred to as the Zephyr Pit, dating from the days when the Burlington route's fleet of passenger trains, called Zephyrs, were serviced at this location. This is an entirely new facility and is unique because although Metra trains are serviced here, the work is done by Burlington Northern Santa Fe employees. The entire BNSF commuter operation to Aurora is contracted to them by Metra to run, and this includes maintenance as well as operations.
Basically, we service, maintain the equipment for Metra. We do the servicing, the maintenance, and repair of 176 bi-level cars and 29 locomotives. It's a lot of maintenance that has to be done. We do the servicing of on the cars to maintain. We do the servicing, the cleaning, the repairs, air conditioning, the lighting, the heating on the suburban cars. And on the locomotives, we do the periodic maintenance and the repairs, servicing on a daily basis that is required by FRA to do the inspections and daily maintenance on the equipment.
We have basically 29 to 30 locomotives that we service per day to get them out and on the train in a timely fashion, because once the locomotives are put off of the service track onto the train, they're expected to go out and run and without fail. Inside the house here, what we got on, we have a maintenance and repair spot. As you can see behind me, we have the 193, which is a locomotive in for a 1-year inspection. We do a pre and post load inspection. We get it in, we inspect the main bearing, piston, the undercarriage, the wheels, lubricant, making sure that all parts that needs to be changed are changed, and we get it back out and we do a post load. And for locomotives, check the horsepower, making sure that the horsepower is up to snuff, 3,200 horses. And if so, then we'll release the locomotive after it's been washed back out into the service areas, 203 it, and it's back out on the train.
I can assure you that every season has its ups and downs. In the summertime, especially with the weather that we've had lately, with a 90-degree day, you can imagine that each one of these cars have two 8-ton units that used to cool these cars. Well, you can imagine if one of these cars, one of the units go down on its coach, it's impossible for you to put passengers in it, because the temperature, if the ambient temperature is 100 degrees, inside of those cars, the temperature is going to go up well over 125.
Every spring I bring every car in from the fleet, bring it in for a day for AC checkup. We actually check the AC system, make sure it's running properly, repair any defects we find, and then send the cars back out, bring the next 4 or 5 in. Keep that cycle going. It takes me about 2.5 to 3 months to do that, to get all the cars through here.
Although each season has its own challenges, the dedicated Burlington Northern Santa Fe employees make sure that Metra customers have a safe and comfortable ride to and from work. Our next stop on our tour of Metra is the 2 Milwaukee District lines, the Milwaukee District West line to Elgin and the Milwaukee District North route to Fox Lake. The 2 Milwaukee lines carry an average of 45,000 passengers a day. These two lines get their names from the old Milwaukee Road Railroad, and although the Milwaukee Road is long merged away, the name has stuck on these lines to this day. The West Line runs 40 miles from Union Station to Elgin. All Milwaukee District trains depart from the north side of Union Station. One of the things unique to the Milwaukee lines for the last 25 years has been the use of the F40C locomotives. These 15 locomotives, built in 1974, are the only ones of this model ever produced and are unique to Metra. They are also the largest locomotives that Metra owns and develop 3,200 horsepower. As this program was being produced, replacement locomotives had been ordered, and the days were dwindling for these dependable machines. Metra's other locomotives are the smaller F40PH model, made from 1977 to 1992. They come in two varieties, with the newer ones having these slanted noses. Like several of the Metra lines, the Milwaukee West route serves an area that transitions from a heavily urban one to more residential and small town flavor. Many people refer to Metra as a suburban railroad, but with the distance that most of the routes cover, in reality it's a regional railroad, as there are a multitude of stops in the city of Chicago proper, towns immediately adjacent to Chicago, and then places like Joliet, or in the case of this line, Elgin, which are quite separate from Chicago. As one of our F40C locomotives arrives in Elgin, we'll jump north to Fox Lake to sample a little of the other old Milwaukee Road line, the Milwaukee District North Line. Running the 50 miles from Fox Lake to Union Station, the North Line serves a rapidly growing area of Chicagoland. This line is like others in the Metra system that is showing a growing trend in morning travel outbound from Chicago. Many of these people live in Chicago, but are traveling to jobs in suburban communities northwest of the city. The one-time notion of this being just a morning and evening commuter railroad is rapidly disappearing. People travel on Metra throughout the day to get to where they are going. One of the interesting places that trains on the Milwaukee District lines pass is that little building on the left that most people don't give a second thought. Known as Tower A2, this is the control point for one of the busiest railroad junctions in all of Chicago. This is the crossing, using historical terms, of the Milwaukee Road, Chicago and Northwestern, and Pennsylvania Railroad. Today, trains on the Milwaukee District and Union Pacific West lines cross each other at this busy junction. The heart of Tower A2 is the old Union switch and signal interlocking machine that controls the movements through the junction. And a busy junction it is.
We run approximately 300 movements a day, and most of those are clustered into the morning and evening rush hours. We have 4 tracks on the Union Pacific here, and we have 3 tracks on the Milwaukee system, Milwaukee District trains, and we have approximately the same amount of trains on the 3 tracks as we have on the 4 tracks, and all of them cross here directly in front of the tower, so that all day long the train movements of the suburban passenger trains interfere with one another. And it's our job to sort them out and to get them through here with the minimum amount of delay.
We send trains on different tracks to their destination. If we need to send them in on 2 main, whatever track, we switch the trains here. They come in from different suburbs. We send them downtown to Union Station.
This tower was put in sometime after the turn of the century when the railroads were elevated through here. And this particular interlocking machine here replaced an earlier machine of a similar type in 1937. In my estimate, the electro-pneumatic type of machine that was used by the Pennsylvania Railroad was the finest interlocking machine ever designed. It's a very flexible machine and very fast operating with air-operated switches. So it only takes 5 to 10 seconds to get a lineup off of it for a train.
We're going to line the next train from number 2 main track to number 3 main track. This is signal 38, which will be the first signal. I've given him that. On the east end, I've already given the signal. He's going from number 2 main track through number 77 switch over on the panel there that you can see. That will drop him down to 3 main, and he will go 3 main into Union Station.
Although towers such as this are disappearing from the American scene due to advancing remote control technology, the complexity of this installation seems to have assured that the people in this facility will be sorting trains well into the future. The next Metro route on our list is also the newest, the 53-mile North Central service from Union Station to Antioch. Opened in August of 1996, this line serves the far northern suburbs. Since there had been no commuter service previously on this line, all the stations are of new construction. Currently, there are 5 trains a day each way on this line, although Metra is working on double tracking projects that will allow for future service expansions. Lastly, we'll visit the 3 lines operated by Union Pacific, the UP West, Northwest, and North lines. Like the BNSF line that we visited earlier, these lines are operated under contract by Union Pacific. The 3 Union Pacific lines carry an average of 96,000 passengers a day. All Union Pacific trains terminate downtown at the Ogilvie Transportation Center, which many people still refer to as Northwestern Station, named for the old Chicago and Northwestern Railroad, which Union Pacific bought in the 1990s. Northwestern Station was a classic downtown railroad station, but was demolished in the 1980s. In its place is this gleaming new office building with a shiny new train station inside. This is one busy place with 185 trains arriving or departing each weekday. The Union Pacific West line runs 35 miles west to Geneva. Like several of the other lines, it makes the transition from urban to more rural. The suburb of Glen Ellen seems quite far removed from the hustle-bustle of downtown Chicago. One of the things that one notices about the Union Pacific lines is that many of the cars have steel sides instead of the stainless steel of the other cars we've seen. These are some of the original double-decker commuter cars built for the Chicago and Northwestern in the late 1940s and early 1950s, and are nearing the end of their service lives. As we saw a few minutes ago, with routine maintenance, this equipment can last a long time. Geneva is the end of the line for the West Line commuter service, which sees nearly 60 commuter trains a day. Moving on, we're back in Chicago at the Clybourne station, where the Northwest line to Harvard in the background diverges from the North line in the foreground. The 62-mile-long Northwest line is the longest route on the Metra system and is also the busiest of the 3 Union Pacific lines. Another item of interest on the 3 Union Pacific lines is that they all run left-handed. This dates from the very early days of the railroad, when the Chicago and Northwestern was adding its second track. Running right-handed would have made morning commuters have to stand outside during inclement weather, as the stations were on the left side. Instead, the railroad was run left-handed, a practice that continues to this day. The Northwest suburbs are indeed fortunate to have the easy transportation provided by this well-run commuter operation. The third of the 3 Union Pacific lines is the North Line to Kenosha, Wisconsin. Kenosha is the terminal for operational reasons and is the only Metra station located outside of Illinois. This 52-mile line is one of Metra's more interesting routes, as it operates near the shores of Lake Michigan near Waukegan. It also passes through Chicago's wealthy north side cities, and the stations reflect this, with each community having its own unique, elegant commuter station. The region known as Chicagoland is an enormous place, full of people who need to travel here and there. Over the course of decades, the residents of Chicagoland have depended on their fleet of regional trains to get them where they want to go. And because Chicago never really sleeps, people know that almost whatever hour of the day or night they want to go somewhere, there will be a Metra train to take them there.